You allow them to take out loans. You let an 18-year-old in the United States take out $120,000 worth of loans, but he can't have a fucking beer? You let that same 18-year-old fight your wars, but you won't let him have a beer? This is what we're talking about. You're more concerned with order than justice. I want to start with defining what capitalism is. Okay, so and I pulled this directly from the dictionary, from the Oxford Dictionary, right? So, are you able to see my screen now? There it is. Okay, so capitalism by the Oxford Dictionary is defined as an economic or political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit rather than by the state. That's all it says. It just says that the trade and industry of the country is controlled by private owners for profit. Doesn't say anything in there about taking care of the environment. Doesn't say there's anything in there about taking care of the workers. Doesn't say anything in there about anything other than for profit. And I can't get to democratic socialism without explaining socialism. So don't start freaking out because I'm about to define socialism, okay? Socialism is defined as a political and economic theory of social organization which advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole. See, that's a really big part, because when a lot of anti-socialists talk about socialism in a negative light, they're talking about the government owning the means of production, right? When they say Russia, Venezuela, like this kind of shit, right? And no one is advocating for that. I'm not, right? A lot of the people that I've spoke with that kind of have the same belief system as I do about how our government should be run, how our economic system, our political system, how they all should operate. None of us are saying that we want the government to start producing automobiles. Should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole. We are asking to be part of the regulation, though. We are saying the government should regulate the means of production, should regulate the distribution, and should regulate the exchange to a certain degree, okay? And this is where democratic socialism comes into play. Socialism is finite. The government controls all of it. We're not saying that. I'm not saying that. How about that? I'm not. So for whatever reason, the Oxford Dictionary doesn't have a definition for democratic socialism. I had to go to Business Insider to get something substantial that wasn't just in Wikipedia. So obviously this is the most prominent democratic socialist figure that everyone knows, right? This isn't about him. This is about the ideas, okay? In democratic socialism, we're still committed to democracy. I still want one person, one vote. I still want to be able to vote on the way that we regulate industry, right? The way that we control the transfer of certain things in this country, like the transfer of wealth, the transfer of education, the transfer of housing, the transfer of employment, everything, right? Those are all relationships between people, industry, and things. And when there's nothing governing it other than the idea that, hey, just make as much money as you can, that leaves out a whole host of different things that need attention, right? There's people that need help economically to get out of a place that either they were put into or they were born into. And again, under a capitalist economic model where these people are not represented, it's just profit. That's the problem. There's a lot of emphasis on social justice and other political political action items that come along with democratic socialism. You know, to finish off this right here, it says, to put it another way, they don't feel socialism should be forced on people, but they are but they feel they are fundamentally anti-capitalist and believe the government should urge privately owned businesses towards granting workers as much control as possible. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with, I mean, that's what labor movements are, right? That's what unions are. Unions are for like workers' rights, right? The organization that's labels himself the Democratic Socialists of America, I'm not affiliated with them. I believe a lot of the same things that other people believe, but I in no part want to say I'm a representative of them. I don't know half of the things that they've said. But they say at the root of our socialism is a profound commitment to democracy as a means and end. As we are unlikely to see an immediate end to capitalism tomorrow, that organization fights for reforms today that will weaken the power of corporations and increase the power of working people. It's very simple. We're not saying to eradicate. I agree with that. I don't want to eradicate corporations. We need them. We need production of items. We need jobs for people. We need some form of economic security that usually comes with those jobs if they're given to people in the right way. But that usually also comes with the workforce that is properly unionized and or collectively bargaining, right? So enough about that, right? Democratic socialism is very different than socialism. I don't want to own the means of production by the government, but the government does have a hand to play in how production is handled and how economic resources are distributed in this country and under what guidelines that corporations are allowed to operate. That's it. Very simple. And I want to pivot now to the words of Dr. Martin Luther King. And you're like, well, why the fuck are you doing that? The reason that I'm doing that is because what he's going to say, and this is an excerpt from his letter from Birmingham jail, okay? And to understand where he's coming from and what he's saying, you have to understand first what his belief system was. And maybe right now Bernie Sanders is the most notable Democratic socialist in the United States, and maybe even the world. But Martin Luther King was a Democratic socialist. Martin Luther King was fighting for the same things that Senator Sanders' campaign and the people that worked with him were fighting for now, albeit under different times and with different opposition. But the parallels between what Dr. King is going to say in this letter and to what happened now and to what's going on now and to what people are telling me now and people like me now are starkly in line. So let me read this to you. Let me make this a little bit bigger on my screen so you can see as you follow along. And for context, Martin Luther King, the reason why he was in jail at the time when this happened was because he was protesting in Birmingham, right? And he's part of the clergy, okay? And at the time, there was white clergymen who sided with Martin Luther King and the people he was fighting for. And at that time, that was a very contentious thing for them to do, right? Because race relations were very, very high, or very tense. So when Dr. King went down there and he protested, he got arrested. And the clergymen sent him a response the clergyman publicly said that his doing so was untimely and just not the right thing to do. So they parted with him in that moment. They said, just wait, right? So let me read this to you. And this isn't the whole letter, and I implore you to actually go read the whole letter. It's good. It's really good. And I don't mean entertainment good. I mean like changing your life good. So he says, first, I must confess that over the last few years, I've been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. And with white moderate now, I want you to think about Nancy Pelosi. I want you to think about a Joe Biden. I want you to think about a Hillary Clinton. I want you to think about all these Democratic establishment figures who play on the blue team. The blue team's the good team, right? That's the one that fights for the rights of all marginalized people. Yes, but listen to what he's about to say about the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in the stride toward freedom is not the white Citizens Council or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice. The same white moderates now that tell me that I'm not allowed to say that Bernie Sanders was right. People that tell me, stop with this Bernie or bust shit. First of all, I'm not Bernie or bust. I'm progressive policies or bust. So whoever's bringing that shit is who I'm going with. And if you're not bringing it, then I'm going to bring to you what I need you to know that we're fighting for so that you either do it or we find someone who will. When you tell me, when people say Bernie bros, control your Bernie bros, you want order. You don't want justice. They're not hurting people with their words of saying we need help. People are dying. The healthcare system is shit. Students are in debt because you told them they could be anything they wanted to be when they went to college. And so they did that. And then you let the education system rape them for all of their fucking money. First of all, it wasn't even money they had in the first place. You allowed them to take out loans. You let an 18-year-old in the United States take out $120,000 worth of loans, but he can't have a fucking beer? You let that same 18-year-old fight your wars, but you won't let him have a beer? This is what we're talking about. You're more concerned with order than justice. Dr. King goes on to say, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice. Ignorance is bliss. Leave me the fuck alone. Don't create any problems. That's the white moderate. They love the status quo. They fucking love it. Why do you think they all, and to include Bernie Sanders and AOC, all these people voted for the first bailout package. There was nothing in there that fucking worked. Why do you think they had to do a second one? He goes on to say, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal that you seek, but I can't agree with your methods of direct action. Think about him saying this. People at his time are saying, Dr. King, I agree with you. All of the people in your community should have equal rights as a human, but I don't agree with you protesting for it. I don't agree with you yelling in the streets for it. Think about what was happening at that time to that community. Dogs being set on people, fucking water cannons, people getting shot for literally just saying, treat me like a person. And the white moderate was like, hey man, Dr. King, control your Bernie bros, Dr. King, and we'll work with you. We can get this done. That's who paternalistically feels he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by the myth of time, and who constantly advises the Negro to wait until a more convenient season. Does that not sound familiar? Do you remember 2016 when everybody said Bernie Sanders is crazy? Medicare for all is never, the Democratic platform will never fight for Medicare for all. Right? Then what happened in this election? The entire damn fucking Democratic platform is about healthcare and Medicare for all. But they told him it wasn't the right time last time, right? And they told him again, they're telling us again, right now is not the right time. We can't have it. We want tuition assistance for everyone. We want to have, first of all, affordable healthcare. Go fuck yourself with your affordable healthcare. The shit's not affordable, and it will never be affordable because you won't let it be affordable because you're owned by the insurance companies and the people that manufacture healthcare devices and all these big entities that are tasked with our healthcare. And because our politicians, the white moderates, who are supposed to be helping us, and I'm not giving Republicans and these other assholes a pass. I've just already written them the fuck off. At least they have the gall and the balls or whatever the fuck you want to call it. At least they have that to tell me to my face that they don't want to help me. But to have these Democrats come and tell me, and other people like me, marginalized communities, disenfranchised people of color, women, gay people, every fucking thing, to say, we care about you. We care about you. We really do. We fight for the people. And then to be quarantined in your house with $12 pints of fucking ice cream and act like it's a joke on Jimmy Fallon or one of those stupid shows in the middle of the week. How out of touch are these people? They have so much money. You have no understanding of how much money these people have. And I want you to, and I hope that through this damn fucking web series that I'm doing, that eventually you'll come to the realization that when you have that much money, you are no longer even capable of working for the people. It just doesn't happen. Self-preservation is the one thing that is on your mind when you have that much money. Because once you taste something, it's like, you know how like some people like, they can't stop smoking. They can't stop drinking cocaine. They can't stop drinking Coca-Cola. They get that taste and it's like, it's the same thing with money and power. Once you own a fucking Lambo, do you think you could go back to a Corolla? Does your life just change? He goes on to further say, shallow understanding. We're here. Oh, I forgot I'm on the thing. He goes on to further say, shallow understanding from people of goodwill, the Democrats, is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will, the non-Democrats. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. How true is that? I am so confused as to why these people don't literally just say what everybody else wants them to say. Yeah, we'll take care of you. No, fuck the banks. We're going to give money directly to the people. Can you bring me on main, please? Why don't they do that? Why has not one person said that? Why has not one person just literally came out and said, you know what? Everything is wrong. This is all wrong. Everything is wrong. And this is how I think it should be fixed. Cut checks directly to people. Done. That's it. We have a free market, right? Capitalism, right? And part of democratic socialism is capitalism built in. It's rolled into it. It's just a little capped at the top. You know, it's just a little, figure out different ways to regulate it. But there is still a pursuit of profit. So if we're going to live in that system, why do we not let these entities fail? Why are the Democrats telling me they want to help me, but at the same time, when that first payment protection program went out, everyone knows about Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, right? And Shake Shack, right? Why did they even get the money in the first place? And those are just the big name players, and I personally don't even want to scapegoat them in that way. I'm just using a notable example that I hope everyone can kind of relate to because they heard about it. But that's the tip of the iceberg of companies that got money, that had money, that didn't need it. And we're not talking about me, small business, who has a little bit of money and will be okay for a little bit. We're talking about massive amounts of money that these companies have. And again, I'm hoping that in a little bit I'll get to letting some of the businesses fail and where that money really went. So I had somebody tell me, I felt compelled to say that, to put that all together, because I've had people that are starting to tell me these things about I shouldn't be Like, lay off the Dems. Lay off the Dems, man. Give the Dems a break. Why? Fucking why? I've been here 35 years. The Dems have really not done shit for me. There's been parts of the Democratic Party who probably could be classified as a progressive caucus, a progressive wing, or whatever. These are the people that have been doing things in the back end for a while. These are the people who never get recognition, who are always the one who are petitioning the other elected officials who get to go on MSNBC and get to go on CNN and do all that showy FaceTime shit. Do you ever wonder why you only see like 10 politicians? Do you know how many people are in Congress? We only see like 10 of them all the time. Why do you think that is? All right, I'm done with this. Just listen. Going forward, I really need you to pay attention to what you're telling people, what you're telling yourself, and what other people are telling you. And really think about what Dr. King said when he said, I must confess that over the last few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. Unpack that. Read the letter. Read what people now are saying can't be done, and who constantly advises in his time the Negro to wait until a more convenient season. Think about how many people now are telling you to wait for a more convenient season. Or before you tell me to wait for a more convenient season, I just really want you to think twice.